there is an issue about an approach by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission in the manner in which it arrests people who are found doing corruption, and especially the traffic police officers of this country. This body that is mandated by the Constitution to look into issues of ethics and anti-corruption in as far as they are concerned in this country. There is an approach of laying ambush at traffic police officers at specific points and at specific junctures, just to get an overview of what they do on the roads, then bump into them. And yesterday, this similar trend continued on a particular road in this country. I think it was around in Embu, where 4 traffic police officers were arrested for allegedly taking bribes and collecting kachai from motorists in an ambush. And I want to show you this video, and after watching this video, yes, that is the video of EACC officers arresting traffic police officers within a road in this country. Yes, corruption is an issue and it's a cancer that it's eating our country to the core. But I beg to differ in the manner in which the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is discharging its mandate, and in particular the way it's ambushing the traffic police officers on our roads. Let's take a deep critical look and do a surgery, basic operational surgery on this method of approach to arresting people or traffic police officers taking bribes from our roads. There is I have to disagree. Personally, I'm disagreeing with this method of discharging its mandate, and in particular arresting corrupt people. Here are the reasons as to why we as Team Bold and I in person disagree with this method of discharging its mandate. Number one, the paperless corruption in this country, it is actually the thing that is eating this country most. Maybe to EACC and to some of us, we believe that this ambush is what is going to set this country onto a transformational agenda. But that is not the case, because there is a lot of paperless corruption going on in our offices. Actually, at some point I saw a joke by some section of Kenya that when he was going to approach a government office to seek for a particular service, the officer manning the gate allowed them in without frisking them, telling them that anyway, the thieves are inside, not you coming from outside. So, and especially within our procurement departments of this country, the level of paperless corruption, it's called corruption of the brain. That is what is eating this country. So that if I'm to secure a tender, rather of buying pens for an office where I work for, I'll say that the value of this pen is 100 shillings, and in real sense, this pen, I can get it at 10 shillings. So I end up eating 90 shillings. That is just a basic example. And I was following up on a particular story where I actually saw that somebody secured a tender of supplying laptops, those are ICT equipments, to a particular government agency that I would want to mention at this particular point because it's a story that I'm still following on. And the basic price of that laptop in the market currently goes at something around 40 to 45,000 shillings, but this person goes ahead and quotes the value at 140,000 shillings. So that is the level of paperless corruption that is eating this country, and not the ones that we are turning our focus and so much attention to, like the police officers who are collecting bribes on our roads. So this approach of laying ambush, it's not going to cure the level of runaway loot and corruption that is being witnessed in this country. That is why, number one reason as to why I strongly, and as the Bold Desk, strongly beg to disagree with this method of approach by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission in combating corruption in the country. Number two, and just before we go to number two, because this paperless corruption is what the big fish are actually using to loot and run our coffers empty and dry. Number two, this method of ambush, setting up secret cameras within the forests and on the sides of road reserves, such that they can in particular capture these police officers collecting bribes, is going to create something that we've seen, because over the past few weeks we've seen bodies or discipline forces like Kenya Defense Forces and the Kenya Police clashing. So this one is in particular going to create animosity within the police service, because the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission relies on the services of the National Police Service to conduct its mandate, especially of making arrests. So you take a specific police officer to go and make an arrest on a fellow police officer. What do you intend to achieve in the end? You're going to create an animosity within these forces. And the manner in which these arrests are made, some people are armed. So what of in the situation that the police officers collude with their fellows who are armed, because in particular they are not supposed to be armed when on the road. So they say, be our backup. Since we get a good thing at the end of the day, we'll remunerate you for being our backup. And a gunfight ensues. What will we be able to explain to the other citizens of this country? So in the end, this is just going to create animosity within the government agencies and in particular within the security formations and units of this country. And in this particular one, the ACC must go back we are not saying that we are against whatever they are doing. Corruption is something that is eating this country to the core, and therefore must be fought using modern and innovative ideas and not a traditional ambush setting. It's like you are hunting for animals within a game or within a forest, so you lay an ambush for them. Those are old techniques, they're old methods, and as much as they might prove to be effective, but in the long run, how many police officers are collecting bribes on the road just at this particular point, or just at this particular point that we are doing this podcast? The answer will be there are many. And now you only lay an ambush, maybe for example on Jogo Road in Nairobi. What is happening in Kachok Road in Kisumu? Who is laying an ambush there? So the only way that you would otherwise convince us that laying an ambush is going to help us solve the issue of runaway corruption in this country is that you are going to decide that today you are going to lay an ambush on all major and minor feeder roads in this country, because that is what is happening on these roads. So we must think of an innovative and systematic approach rather than the ambush drama that we're seeing on our roads. Number 3 reason as to why I beg to disagree with this method is that the ambush system seems to be selective and prone to abuse. It is selective because, why are we saying that it's selective? If today I'm a member of the National Police Service and I work maybe within the Directorate of Criminal Investigation and I have a personal conflict or clash with a fellow who works within the traffic department, and then I know where they stand and I know whatever they do, and now I want to settle the score or settle the beef with them, what will I do? I'll tip a fellow within the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to actually lay an ambush at that person, and maybe I tip them at the end of the day. So that's why we are feeling that this system is selective, and it is selective and prone to abuse. So after creating animosity within the forces, now they will use these systems that you are putting in place of using sideway cameras or side road cameras to lay an ambush so as to abuse their fellows. And this system also seems to be faulty. Just come to think of it. Yes, it is bearing fruits, but what is its effectiveness in addressing corruption, and especially in particular on our roads in this country? What is its effectiveness? What if in the event that the officers in particular lay an ambush and after arresting or doing the drama of arresting the traffic cops, they tell them that, you know what, today we got something good, and instead of taking us down to the EACC headquarters for interrogation and possibly for interdiction, why don't we share the spoil? They're the same officers. Why don't we share the spoil? This is Kenya. Anything is possible and anything can happen. So instead, here what the National Police Service or the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission should employ in place is, we can instead opt for body cams, such that if you are situated in a particular road, your body cam must be active and at all times, and it records the communication between you and the drivers, asking them for basic things that you should ask on the road. And another approach that would help, instead of laying an ambush using these secret cameras, is to come up with a systematic approach. We can do a research and say that we can come up with a policy framework, institutional policy framework, that today if I'm caught doing corruption, then these are the repercussions and they are immediate, and it's something that is extradited. It's something that goes fast, such that I know that if today I'm caught on camera collecting bribes, then by evening my fate shall have been known, or within the next 7 weeks my fate shall have been known, such that it is something that I take an oath of office and lay my allegiance to before joining these a department like traffic department. Another thing, the number 4 reason as to why I beg to agree with this approach is the police sector is poorly remunerated. They are poorly paid. I have friends within the police, and if they share with you their pay slips, then you just pity them, because even with the current government, the level of deductions is just so high. So imagine somebody earning something like 30,000 in a month or 33,000 in a month, and then the deductions is almost quarter of that. They end up going home with something around 25 or 24. And this is a police officer seeing people on the road with goods, seeing people on the road with money. What will be their immediate response for survival? You know, it's survival for the fittest and extension for the weakest. What will be their basic reasoning? That instead of waiting for this 23 or 26,000 at the end of the month, and I have family to look after, then why can't I collect even 20 shillings, 50 shillings from the roadside? So we must look into the issue of police remuneration in this country, how we pay our officers. I know this might not solve it at the end of the day, because there are people who will still be corrupt. You even look at the reason as to why some of these traffic police officers collect bribes on the road. They don't do it on their own volition. It is an address, or it's a command from their seniors. It's something that is carried downward, upward to downward, where their seniors do this systematically, because the bosses instruct them that today I'm taking you to this particular road, and at the end of the day I want this particular amount of money, so you have to get it. It's something that is coming from up to downward. So these are the gaps that we need to address. And even just within Nairobi, there is a report of how some matatu or bus circles, they must remit for at least 2,000 per vehicle to particular police bosses, not just in Nairobi alone. This is what is happening in this country according to information on the ground. They have to admit it for protection, something called protection fees. So you give this at the end of the month, then on the road you also have to give something. So this is something that laying ambush and cameras, it's something that is deeply entrenched within the Department of Traffic. It's something that needs a sobriety, and it needs a relook and refocus into how we are going to address this particular issue, and not these roadside shenanigans of laying cameras to arrest these police officers. At the end of the day, if we are going to arrest them using these roadside traffic cams, and it is something that comes from their bosses, if I'm a junior officer today and I'm interdicted for collecting bribes on the roadside, then I might go to court and say that, prove actually, not just say, prove that on this particular day I was instructed by person XYZ to particularly collect bribes on the road. What do we end up with? We instead will end up with something that is called protracted litigation, where we'll now be having government agencies spending more money on the courts trying to defend themselves as to why this happened and this did not happen. So we must be very careful on how we are going to fight corruption, and in particular corruption on our roads, and not this roadside drama that we are witnessing from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. That is the bold analysis. Thank you for watching. My name is Frank.